any good acting has behavior with it.
Nate, why? Why such bitterness? What have I done to you? Get out! You're no nephew of mine. As far as I'm concerned, you're as dead as that wretch Cermak.
You have to embellish the words with a certain amount of gravity. Because we're talking about things that are really important here, that are kind of secret. There's a natural kind of darkness when you talk about noir. You know, it's great. I love it.
Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. There I am as Laser Bob in 1987 at Seattle Silver Platters. I am Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am your Pharaoh of Physical Media, and this is Let's Get Physical Media, episode 230, I believe. Well, guess what? DIETER Bastian's gone. Not permanently, but today I got, a late night message from him saying that his other hobby calls, and he couldn't show up today. So, you know what? If he's not going to come to us all the way from Saarbrücken, Deutschland, and I'm not going to give him this Saarbrücken, Deutschland today if he's not here. I'm not going to say that. But what I do have is I've got something even better. I have somebody who has a bigger collection of physical media that's a little bit more organized, a hot blonde wife, a nice son, and he has the new book, The Return of the Maltese Falcon. And you know him, you love him. He's from the Sea Wing, all the way from Muscatine, Iowa. He is Max Allan Collins.
Well, it's great to be here, but I'm certainly not better than DIETER Bastian. That's the sound of viewers disappearing into the mist when they find out that DIETER's gone, and they have to put up with just Burnett and Collins.
It's true, Max. They yes, but I think we're gonna soldier through. We're gonna make people believe. It's gonna be a great show. I think you might be a little loud now that we're live. But if you just hang back, just sit back and
I'll hang back.
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect right there.
You want the mellow Max. You want the mellow.
Yeah, the mellow Max. Just it's mellow Max. Is there a mellow Max? I don't know. I mean, the rambunctiousness of the Sea Wing. I don't know what to say.
No, my wife says I'm an excitable boy, and I think
she's been saying that since you were 16.
Well, that's who Warren Zevon wrote the song about.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, would you like to hear about the box office?
Sure.
I don't know if you want to hear about the box office,
sure.
But this is interesting. Music is dominating the box office charts. 21 Pilots, the band, 21 Pilots, more than we ever imagined, live in Mexico City, and epic Elvis Presley in concert are sitting at number 4 and 5 at the North American box office, making for a great music weekend, which is pretty interesting. We don't normally get that. And I'm looking for the list. I don't know if the list of box office films is I don't know if we've got it yet. I don't think they have it. Oh no, here we go. We have Scream 7. And according to Anthony D'Alessandro, Scream 7 roars to record decibels with the franchise best 97 million global debut. And that's international box office. 97 million for Scream 7, making it the largest opening of any Scream film globally. That's pretty crazy. Do you have any interest in the Scream franchise, Max?
Well, I try to get, my son and I usually go to a movie every Tuesday night because it's the cheap night.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't get him to go to to Scream 7. And my wife was standing there and she said, "What is Scream 7?" I said, "Well, it answers all the unanswered questions that weren't resolved in Scream 6." And she said, "Oh, okay." But no, I'm enough of a sort of traditional horror junkie to want to
Sure.
go see that. Sure.
All right.
I'll
That's
complain
good.
about it and I'll go to the next one.
Well, Alvaro, who's been on the channel, I don't know anybody who loves Scream more than he does. And he gave me a pretty interesting dissertation about it.
Pro,
John Camp,
con.
he enjoyed it. He liked it. You know, he thought some things were better than others. John Campia gave a 20-minute dissertation on how it's one of the worst movies ever made. I had nothing to say because I still have yet to see it. I'm just happy that it made money. So let me just run down. This is the global box office. So Scream 7, a total of it made 64.1 million domestic here. GOAT, Sony's animated film, in its I think it's its second weekend, is at 73.9 million. Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights is at 72.3 million. Warner Brothers has got to be liking that. Number 4, 21 Pilots, 3.7 million. Epic, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis Presley in concert movie, is up to 7.8 million. Crime 101 from Amazon Studios is at 30 million. That's, of course, based on the Don Winslow book. I Can Only Imagine 2 is at 13.2 million. Send Help, Fox's Send Help, is at 59.9 million, a movie I really liked. How to Make a Killing, another movie trying to make Glenn Powell a star, is at 6.2 million, so apparently he's not much of a star. Zootopia 2 has a domestic cum of $425.8 million. That is a huge result for that film. So that's the box office this week. But you know what? You know what the big news this week was? It looks to be that Paramount are the new overlords of Warner Brothers. And I wanted to get, Max, what is your take on Paramount getting Warner Brothers? Obviously, Paramount, responsible for one of the great noir movies of all time, Chinatown, Roman Polanski's Chinatown. Paramount gave us Raiders. Paramount gave us Star Trek. Paramount gave us La 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 La, Rosemary's Baby. So many great things, the Godfather movies. But Paramount, I'm more in the what have you done for me lately camp. I think the Ellison boys, father and son, Larry and David, I'm not sure that this merger is the greatest thing in the world for the art of cinema. If they would just accept, if they would own Warner Brothers, I'd say okay, but they want to absorb HBO into Paramount Plus. HBO as a brand is going to go bye. And they can't even make a good Star Trek series, so I don't know. I just don't think that it's the greatest thing in the world. We don't know how it's going to affect physical media. If they decide to kill physical media, kill what Warner Archive is doing, it might be the end of physical media for the studios. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it could all be a good thing. Maybe they'll just let Warner Brothers cook. Warner Brothers is cooking with gas. They have been for the last year. What do you think, Max? Tell us.
Well, I'm of two minds because, first of all, Skydance is a big part of this.
Yep.
And Skydance, that they're the ones who have the Mike Hammer movie in the works, and
Yep.
of course, I'm kind of the co-owner of Mike Hammer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a financial benefit to me if they do well.
Oh, so that's what you're saying, is that at least you're giving us, at least you're honest, you're upfront, you're giving us a disclosure here.
But I'm very nervous about what's going to happen to CNN. I'm not a huge CNN fan, but I don't like the idea that the federal government is putting their thumb, and by federal government, you know who I mean, on the thumb of what's supposed to be capitalist enterprise. It's very disturbing to have one political party control most of the media, since we depend on them, on a lot of the media, to tell us what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I mean, what bothers me is that obviously the thing about for instance, Netflix taking over, is that Netflix is not in the same business necessarily as Warner Brothers was.
Yes.
They're more of I mean, even though they produce their own stuff, Warner Brothers was going to be a pipeline. They were going to allow Warner Brothers to theatrically release movies because, as we all know, theatrically released films do better on streaming.
Yep.
Warner Brothers was going to be allowed to stay Warner Brothers. And they weren't really going to touch it. They were just going to allow Warner Brothers to do, and Warner Brothers under their new administration, that, to be fair, Paramount has said they were going to keep Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca. But the problem that I have is that Warner Brothers, this is the third time someone will have acquired the studio in the last, 7 years? And every single time, they've thrown the studio into turmoil. And like people now, they want to make $6 billion worth of cuts. Is George Feltenstein going to have a job? You know, they've just announced, we'll talk about it, but they just put out their beautiful, Warner Brothers, beautiful Ben-Hur set. They've got something that we're going to be talking about that they just announced. And the deals that they've made with all the different companies, Vinegar Syndrome, Shout, Arrow, Criterion. I mean, are all those going to stay? I hope they stick around, but, you know, who knows? Who knows? And to me, it's more of a cultural... You know, as everybody, I understand Wall Street. We saw this in Oliver Stone's Wall Street in the 80s. You know, everyone's Gordon Geckoing everything because it's breakable, and it's like, what about our culture? You know, you can the top 1%. Again, the transfer of wealth since the Reagan era has been extreme, but at the end of the day, you still have to have a functioning society that has great culture and. We are losing that from the cognitive reasoning skills of Gen Z to people that aren't reading. I want to do observations and talk to you about the demise of the paperback, which I haven't addressed yet. I wanted to get you and Alvaro to come on and talk about that. But our culture is being, I think, the things that make people people. You know, the culture at large is being whittled away because the new ideas that you'd get. Movies used to be a collective mythology that we could all share. A lot more people used to go to the movies, and movies would define our culture. And they would come out, and whether, like when Chinatown came out, like when The Exorcist came out, 70s movies had a big effect. Everybody saw them. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And we don't really have that anymore. We don't have that with music. We don't have art that defines our culture the way we used to. Everything is fragmented. Paperback books are going away. Everything is going away. And I don't mean to start this out on a bummer, but I guess if culture, you know what? If the culture isn't valued anymore, it should go away, I guess. I mean...
I think one of the problems is something you've talked about a lot, that I think you talk about the 20-year lifespan of a half-life of popular culture.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that is, I think it's more like 10 years now or 5 years now. Things aren't sticking to the culture very long. And so the culture becomes kind of shallow. And that cuts back on the things that we all share. You know, there's no Beatles anymore. There's no, you know, now I'm an old guy, so I'm not necessarily tuned into the culture anyway, but I try to be to some degree because I'm still a working professional writer, and I've kind of got to know what's going on. And some of it now doesn't seem deep. The oldies are newies to me. I don't even recognize some of the music now. And it's, again, I'm my generation, and that's something else. But I just fear losing the last 50 years of popular culture, 70 years of 100 years of popular culture. I mean, we're now getting to where the movies from the 30s and 40s, that's a long time ago. And, 1939 has been considered the greatest year for movies for a long time. I don't want that stuff to slip away.
There's an article, I think I saw it on Medium, about Preston Sturges' The Lady Eve. And it's like 85 years old.
I know.
And I was like, and here's another thing. I mean, we now have a culture of young people that won't dance for fear that they will look funny on social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole point of dancing is to be exuberant and not worry about what you look like. You know, you can do the white man's overbite, or, you know, you can get down. Yeah. But you should never worry about what people think about how you look when you're dancing. But if someone holds a camera and it's like, we live in a society where young people would rather ridicule each other than engage in an exuberant display of living your life. The exuberance of youth. And now everybody's youth are scarier than ever because they will rat you out. They will do whatever they can to go after you. I mean, they've become culturally jackbooted Nazi fascist thugs that aren't interested in enjoying themselves. They would rather, they're so terrified that they're on the wrong side of opinion that it's so weird. It's where's the exuberance of youth, the uncaring attitude? I will dance the way I like, however long I like, to the music that I like. And now everybody's worried about how they look on social media. It's bizarre. The people that don't give a fuck are us. And yet, what that's going to kill? I mean, movies now. How people go?
I can't speak to this exactly, except from my end of the telescope. But I played rock and roll. I'll let them do the math up there. But I started playing rock and roll in like 1965.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
A long time ago. And I stopped playing rock and roll about a year and a half ago. And one of the reasons, and this is kind of a corollary to what you're talking about, one of the reasons why I got less interested in playing it and ultimately walked away from it was that audiences weren't dancing. They were sitting and listening to us. That to me is not rock and roll. I want them engaging. My late friend Bruce Peters, who was the best guitar player I ever played with, he said his definition of rock and roll was, we scream at them, they scream at us. And I always thought that's the best definition of rock and roll I ever heard in my life. And it's kind of gone, I think. Now, I mean, there's big stadiums and people stand up, but there's a difference between standing up and dancing.
Yes.
They're two different things.
Well, I mean, when you're dancing, it's like, who cares? And that's the whole thing when you're on a dance. And it's funny because we all grew up like American Bandstand.
Yeah.
I grew up watching American Bandstand. As a kid, I'm like, I want to go on to American Bandstand. Or I also love Soul Train. I'd watch Soul Train and I'm like, I could never be that good of a dancer. But I love the music.
Let me tell you, let me ask you a question. If you had to, what was the biggest record of the 1960s? Was it I Want to Hold Your Hand? Was it?
You're asking me what it was? Dude, I was born in 67, so I wasn't listening. I don't know if I can answer that.
It wasn't anything by the Stones. It wasn't anything by the Beatles or the Beach Boys. It was the Twist.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the thing that liberated dancing because suddenly it was freestyle. Right?
Yeah, and everybody could do it.
Yeah, anybody could do it because you can always do it. Anybody can do their own thing.
Come on, baby. And now, of course, I now hear I grew up hearing that song. Everybody's heard that song. I mean, now I don't know if that's so true, but I can hear that. Come on, baby, let's do the twist.
There's another factor to what you're talking about, I think, and what I was talking about, popular culture. See, my generation, and I think to some degree your generation, and maybe the generation after, we grew up with fewer television stations, fewer networks, and that led to what was it? What do they call it? Water cooler talk. Everybody would have seen the Beverly Hillbillies or seen even the Sopranos, and would go and talk about it around the water cooler, and so that was an element of it. But we grew up. The first TV generation, in particular, grew up with old movies on TV.
Right. Yeah.
That everything went. So my sense of what popular culture isn't just what I experienced in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and so on, was the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I had a whole, and most of the people, because that's where you saw your movies. They were usually late night or Sunday morning, or and that's how you saw the Maltese Falcon for the first time, or you saw Casablanca.
Yep.
Or the three. Look at how long the Three Stooges stayed in the culture, and I think we've lost that. We've definitely lost that because of your theory, which is more than the theory of the half-life of popular culture being 20 years.
Well, yeah, I think what's also interesting is, like, I'll give you an example. Albums. You know, I would get a record album. I remember when, you know, like a Led Zeppelin album would come out. You'd get a Led Zeppelin album and you'd listen to the thing was, it wasn't about the single. It was about the whole album, you know, or obvious Pink Floyd, The Wall. I remember I was given Pink Floyd, The Wall I got as a bar mitzvah present. And it became, when I was listening to it for the first time, I'm like, oh, this is a whole, like, deep story. And I'm like, you can't just listen to another Brick in the Wall Part 2. You have to listen to the whole album. And what was interesting was you cut to today and Taylor Swift will put out an album. But people are more interested in how the album reflects Taylor Swift's personal life. Like, which boyfriend is she talking about? You know, whereas Led Zeppelin was the Battle of Evermore or something, was writing Lord of the Rings songs, and they were about the world at large. Now it's all about the cult of personality. You know, and when you buy a Taylor Swift record, everybody talks about how it relates back to her, as opposed to, I would say this, one of my favorite records, I'm obsessed with this record. Have you heard Lana Del Rey's Norman fucking Rockwell?
That's a great album.
I love that album. And I because to me, it just, I don't know why, but it encapsulates my entire life in California. When I moved here, everything about that record, I love everything about that record. And I'm sure it's very autobiographical, I'm sure. A lot of it is about her. But when I listen to that record, it reminds me of all of living in California, what that all means on many different levels. And that's why it hit hard, and I didn't catch up with it. You know, I think I caught up with it 3 years ago. I bought it and I put it on driving to Comic-Con. I'm like, I did not. It's like one of those records. I just played it in the car for a month straight. I didn't listen to anything. I didn't listen to NPR. I didn't listen to the news. I just listened to Lana Del Rey's Norman fucking Rockwell, and I'm like, this, and it made me think of my friend Sean, who passed away back in 2011, my best friend, and one of my best friends, and how I was like, he would have loved this record. He would have been like, dude, I totally relate to this album. Like, I know, dude. But do we have that anymore? Do we have, I don't think that we do. Everything is fragmented, and that's interesting because there's access to a billion things. Everybody, no man is an island, but nowadays every person is an island because they're existing in their own media landscape. There is no defining media landscape anymore. Everybody now has access to everything that's ever been made ever. So there's very few things that act as cohesive glue for our culture, I think.
Well, I think the personal playlist was the enemy of the album. Because people, I have fought to try to get a CD player in my car so I could listen to my CDs because I want to hear albums, and that's a relatively new, a new thing because before the Beatles, boy, everything I'm saying today is old man stuff.
We're so old, Max. I'm shouting at clouds. Please send me the meme. I'll get it another 100,000 times.
But the thing is, before the Beatles, when you bought an album by somebody, like if I bought a Bobby Darin album or I bought a Freddie Cannon album or a Connie Francis album, there'd be one or two hits on it. Right. And a lot of times it would be, the rest is filler. And the Beatles created the idea of not only, eventually the concept album.
Right.
The only person that had really done that before is Frank Sinatra. But every track was great on Beatles album. And that was like crazy because that's when they really started buying albums. And then that went on for a long,
that's in the 60s, man, when you had, the Beach Boys doing like Pet Sounds.
Oh yeah.
And all the when rock and roll was really born, and the singer-songwriters started to come out, like the Bob Dylans of the world, and they would create, and those people, those albums, Joni Mitchell would have a huge influence over, especially the youth explosion of the 60s, the civil rights movement, ERA, anti-Vietnam, all that explosion of culture. I mean,
Yeah.
what's really interesting is one of the things that has fascinated me about all the campus protests about Israel and Gaza. You know what it didn't have? A soundtrack.
That's true.
Because it wasn't real. The protests were all about young people wanting to look proper or on the right side of history for their peers. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something, it was a manufactured, and people are going to really get mad at me for saying this, but it was manufactured. They were told to act a certain way. So they were doing something. It was all this performative activism, and that's how you know it's fake, because it doesn't inspire art. Whereas all the Vietnam anti-war protests, it had a soundtrack. Whether it was Creedence Clearwater Revival, whether it was all of these protest songs that people like Dylan would write, and you would hear the music was as much a part of the movement as the ideas of not wanting to go to Vietnam and getting killed. And that's very telling that the protest movements are not organic. They are a result of people wanting to look good for other people. And they don't, because they don't really know. Like, if you were going to talk to somebody who was a communist in the 60s, they would be able to give you a dissertation on all these thinkers. And they were reading beat poets. They were reading Ginsberg. They had a wide net that they would cast of external forces, whether it was literature, whether it was music, that were informing their own points of view. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, young people's points of view come from TikTok. That's why they're easily programmed, and they don't have real opinions. And if you don't have real opinions that come out from within, they're not real. They are things that you've picked up on social media, and they're not born of your beliefs. And that's why there's no soundtrack, because it isn't real. All the social media things that have programmed things into you are going in the wrong way. They're not coming forth from your heart or your mind. And that's what fascinated me. I thought you would have, and there are some people like that rapper and the UK rapper that would come out and bitch and moan and complain about, they'll come out and say, fuck this, fuck that. But no one's writing necessarily music that catches fire, that captures the entire youth. Because, first of all, there's no young musicians that are on that cutting edge of protest music. They'll come up and say, fuck the police, or they'll come say, fuck Israel at a concert, but they're not writing music to that effect. And where are the protest songs of today? Where are they?
Well, there's another factor too. Everything, because of the TikTok era, everything is sound bites now.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have that experience that you had with an album, which was physical media, after all, where you'd know what the next song was going to be. You'd anticipate I know what the next song is going to be.
You even knew how many beats there were between the silence of the tracks. You could go boom, 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 bang, and you knew exactly.
And then you become enthusiastic about that artist, okay, in a way that you're not going to, and maybe that leads you culturally into other things, even the artist's beliefs, political beliefs or whatever. But at least there was a slipstream you became part of.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, well, my personal playlist, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, or it's Sirius, Sirius Radio, and it's not the same as well. And vinyl, I think the resurgence of vinyl was to some degree a reflection of the lost people trying to regain a generation trying to regain something lost, have that experience. You even the side of an album had a certain certain sequencing and maybe a theme. I mention Bobby Darin all the time. He would do one where one side would be the upbeat side and the other side would be the ballads. You'd know which side to flip. That's kind of back because of the popularity and resurgence of vinyl. It just, I can't hold the same case for VHS tapes.
No,
but
but
I can't.
But again, it's I mean, also to be fair, there's so much more stuff now.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite writers passed away last Saturday, Dan Simmons. A lot of people say he became a kook after he got hit by a kayak in the back of the head, and he became kind of, a total, I don't know. I never saw it, but what's funny to me is he wrote the novel The Terror that the TV miniseries was based on. But I remember reading in Twilight Zone magazine, which still published short fiction, his first story that I guess he wrote when he was taking a class from Harlan Ellison in Colorado. The story is called The River Styx Runs Upstream. And I remember it's a great title. I remember reading that short story and it kind of blew me away. And it was, and then of course I have all of his books in here. And the funny thing was, a voice could, whether it was a musical voice, an authorial voice, would touch you in a way that there was something that an author or a musician could say that permeated your soul. And then you would have to, that person could lead you places. Like you almost like a prophet, leading his flock through the desert or something. And I think that was true of musicians and bands and we would find there would be people that were creating art externally that for whatever reason spoke to us that we would follow. And music was a big part of that because it was easily shared with others. You could be like, hey man, this is a great album. And I remember, I used to go to my friend Mark Elfendahl's house and we'd go play Pink Floyd records and play pool. And we'd play pool until the record was over. And we'd have to listen. It was an experience. I mean, I remember listening to Uma Guma or Animals, at his house or Dark Side of the Moon. And while we're playing pool, and we'd have to listen to the whole record. And, I don't know if anyone does that kind of thing anymore.
Well, I'll say this for Taylor Swift. She's brought people back to the album experience.
That is true. And so is Lana Del Rey.
Right.
But it's more about they're more interested in her as a personality.
But it's still artistic. It's still like one person, and they're following that artist. It's like you have a shelf of Dan Simmons. You've got a shelf of Max Allan Collins. I have shelves. I have a shelf of Mickey Spillane, Raymond Chandler, James M. Cain, William March. I've got all kinds of shelves because I was interested. They did one book, and I had to read them all.
Yeah,
and that's a different entertainment experience. I'm going to use the entertainment kind of broadly there, but it's a different experience than dribs and drabs.
Yeah,
and that's what an imagination connoisseur is, isn't it?
Exactly. And you know what? I mean, I think you're right. The interesting thing about Taylor Swift, my friend Sina, who I went to go hang out with in Copenhagen, Denmark, back in 2012, had a daughter, Sophie, who was 13 when I went to hang out there. And she was the first girl. She would tell me if something was Swiftish or not. And I was like, Swiftish? What does that mean? She goes, if it's Taylor Swift enough, if that's, she liked things that were Swiftish. And I thought, oh, that's a gem. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And we had like the greatest time in Copenhagen. They have an amusement park there called Tivoli, which is what Walt Disney based Disneyland on. And when I walked in there, I'm supposed to be, I go into Tivoli, and those rides in Europe are fucking scary. Like they're high off the ground, and the rotating swings go like twice as high as they would in America. And here's this 13-year-old girl. Can we go on that? I'm like, yeah. But and I'm like, is that Swiftish? So even back then, what was that, 13 years ago or something? 14 years ago. There was Taylor Swift has permeated the culture. That's a lot longer than the Beatles were around already, and she produces her own stuff. So shout out to Taylor Swift, because yes, you're right. She has brought back the album experience, and you can wear her friendship bracelets, and you can go with your mom to the concerts, and there is a cult of personality there.
Absolutely.
And I guess people are like, when the latest album dropped, I listened to NPR Review, every track by track analysis of the record. So I guess everything old is new again, I suppose. I can't be
as you age, and I have experience in aging, you do have to keep open to these things. I may have told you this story before, but my son Nate is senior year in high school. He and some friends are going to drive an enormous amount of, like, 3 hours to see a Weezer concert. And Weezer was not on my radar at all, just something that I knew my son liked. And so I said, Tenacious D was the opening act. And so I told my son, at my wife's urging, I got to see the Tenacious D. Can I drive you and your friends there? So that my son wouldn't be doing this 3-hour drive back and forth. And God knows, what could happen while they're away, and then they get in the car and drive back. It's going to be done in one day. I mean, just one long evening. So I drove him there and went to the Weezer concert and enjoyed Tenacious D, like Jack Black, always hilarious. And so they were down in the front where they're all standing, and I'm not going to stand. I don't even stand at Paul McCartney.
No general admission for you, Max?
No. So I went up into the nosebleeds in the balcony, and I'm just sitting there, and Weezer comes on, and I go, "What the fuck? Wait a minute! I know what this is. This is rock and roll."
Yeah.
And so my son and I run into each other at the intermission, at the same booth, at the same merch booth, to buy signed copies of Weezer albums. And Weezer was doing real albums. I mean, and they were talking about real albums.
Mm-hmm.
I am getting a strange Wirecast. Did you get that?
No.
It's something about Wirecast. I don't know what that was. It was like a ghost that came upon my screen.
Oh, well, we're on Wirecast right now, so that's good. This has been an interesting conversation, but should we talk about physical media?
I got a bunch. What, you want to start?
Oh, wait, I'm seeing this Wirecast. Wow, look at this.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a weird Wirecast. I don't know what that is. What is this? That was bizarre. It was a Wirecast ghost.
Are we broadcasting?
Maybe, yeah, we're broadcasting, but maybe that was their way of advertising.
Okay.
They're advertising. I don't know what that means. Does that mean I have to pay my monthly subscription? Is that what's going to happen now? It's going. Oh, wait, it's popping up again.
Yeah, it's strange.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's what that means. I've never seen that ever. And I've been using this software. Okay, this is interesting. I've been using this software since 2018. And I've never, ever seen that ever. And what's interesting is they switched me over to I bought Wirecast. It's very expensive. They switched. See, it's doing it again. It might be because I have not paid my subscription. They switched this software over to a subscription-based model. I was forced to move over to a subscription-based model last month. So maybe for whatever reason, I paid a subscription. Maybe I haven't paid it's not on auto pay or something. Am I going to subject you to this? I've never seen this before.
Again, what do we do? Do we just power through it?
I don't know. Let's just keep going. And if you've got stuff to show, I will try and figure this out. It has to be that and I've never seen it before. Because you know what? Today is the 1st of the month. It's March 1st. So let me go. I'm going to put you on. You can show some physical media.
Okay.
I'm going to go look and see if I have to deal with a subscription problem, which I was unaware of.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
The ghost of Wirecast.
Yeah,
Yes,
it has to be that, doesn't it?
yeah. We need a ghost hunter to come in and exercise the house. I think. Well, I usually try to talk about film noir, but then go afield always. This is a movie called Stolen Face. It's a Hammer release. It's an incredibly beautiful release. Boy, they do nice stuff.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
It's a demonstration of Wirecast. But it's an Elizabeth. Boy, I'm nervous. I've never had a ghost interrupt me before.
I know. I'm trying to figure. I'm looking. I'm trying to see if it's really weird.
But at any rate, this is a Hammer film from 1952. It stars Paul Henreid and Elizabeth Scott. It's genuinely a film noir. It's a very nice film. It has a science fiction twist to it, which is basically they play off of the old Hollywood trope of a plastic surgeon being able to put a completely different face onto a human being. And it's a kind of a love story where this doctor who's a plastic surgeon who helps a lot of people who've been damaged in an accident or in war, and he's a really top-notch plastic surgeon. And he falls in love with a gal
of Wirecast.
when he falls in love with this gal when they are both kind of stranded at the same place, and they spend time together. It's a lovely little love story. And then suddenly when he goes back to, I guess it's London, he can't get a hold of her anymore, and she won't take his calls. So something's happened. And then we learn that she, had a fiance and that she's going to stay faithful to this fiance. And so
this is a demonstration of Wirecast.
She lets him know that it's over. As much as she loves him, she can't see him again, and he's devastated. And one of the things he's doing is he's helping at prisons and using plastic surgery. If someone has had a bad accident who's in prison, and they think that possibly had an impact on them, giving their sociopathic tendencies free rein.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
And that by changing their physiognomy, they will be able to live a normal life. And so he uses one of these patients to put the face of his lover. Now, she's still alive, but he builds a face she steals the face. It's a stolen face. But the problem is the woman underneath the face isn't anything like the woman he fell in love with. And she starts out very positive because she's very grateful. And really soon,
this is a demonstration of Wirecast.
She is. I know.
I'm sorry about this. It's I'm trying to. They make it very difficult to manage. Like, I'm going to see what my subscription is here, and it's almost as if I didn't subscribe to it. It hasn't. It's like I paid a one-time only fee, and I figured it would. Like they say, it will automatically renew, and it's not automatically renewing, and I can't automatically renew it. Now they want a new password. I don't know. What should we do, dude?
Do you want to leave for half an hour while you deal with this and return?
We could, and we could just start the show over. I mean, I'm sorry about this, but it's funny because it is March 1st, so I'm looking at, and here's what sucks for them. So it's the same money per month, but this was a 28-day month. So, and they get you. But it's all new to me because I've been using this software for, as I said, 8 years, and it was never subscription based until they forced, again, our modern age. You can't buy. It used to be able. You could buy software. You could use it, which I did for 8 years. Spent a lot of money, and now it's a subscription based system, so I'm forced to to get it. Now I got to figure out what the deal is. Why didn't it just renew? I didn't even get a notice. It doesn't say anything. So
We could reschedule, and then Dieter would be back, and then I wouldn't get to be special.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I really have to figure out what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen this before ever, but clearly my subscription must have lapsed but it's not even saying that. I didn't even get a thing that says I haven't renewed or it couldn't charge my card or whatever the hell it is. So I have to figure this one out. This is a new one for me. It's just weird. How about this? Why don't we pause? Why don't we pause and we'll come back? Give me 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Actually, yeah. So we can reconvene at, let's call it 12 o'clock.
Shall we get off this? Shall we redo our connection too? Rather than stay on?
No, yeah, yes. Yeah, I'll send you a new connection. So everybody, take a 15-minute break. Get yourself a drink. Let me figure this one out.
I'm just beside myself, Rob.
Well, it's weird. I've never seen this. Is so weird. I've never seen this before ever. Look, I was pissed. I told people I was pissed when they forced you to go to a subscription-based. I mean, everyone's done that. I'm already paying how much hundreds of dollars am I paying? But this software, this is the first time I've ever seen that ever. So I have to find out, when I signed up, because this is the most annoying shit I've ever seen.
All right. I'll see you in 15 minutes?
Yeah, we'll be back.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. And by the way, I will get to, actually, you know what, Max? Before we do this, because I don't know if this is going to stick around, let me just rifle through these super chats that we have for this segment. We'll come back. Major Chai Chai says, wow, I can't believe I've been a member for 2 years already. Here's to many more. Also, love to Max and Barb. And then Major Chai Chai goes on to say, I got my hopes up when I saw a post on X that Akira was coming to theaters, only to find out it was only in the UK. Well, at least Kiki's Delivery Service will be on the big screen in 4K IMAX in March. It's true. World in PJs. Oh, says I saw Wuthering Heights. It was awful. Emily Bronte never wrote a love story. Max, as a writer, do you worry that a studio might butcher your work? I saw the filming of the Beatles movie this week. Oh, the four that Sam Mendes is making. That's really cool. Do you fear that your work is going to get butchered, Max?
If the check cashes, I can't bitch.
I can see that. There you go. But when you're producing your own audio dramas, that they'll be done right.
It's going to be right.
Richard Curtis says, I have a CD player at work now. It's great. I got Charlie XCX's Wuthering Heights album, listened to Sgt. Pepper a few times. One of my favorite albums is I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning by Bright Eyes. That is a great record. I have that record. I have that CD. Great record. 8-Bit Sight says, back before I started losing my sight, I actually used to write myself. It wasn't the blindness that made me stop, but the fact that someone stole one of my stories and turned it into a movie called 5 Lines. Oh, no. Has Max ever had to overcome severe writer's block and gotten his inspiration back?
I've never had writer's block. No, if the bills come due, you can't go to them and say, I had writer's block this month. I can't pay what I owe you. No, it's my job. It's my job.
World in PJ says there are protest singers such as Sam Fender. Music you hear now is controlled by algorithms, not DJs. Musicians are living on minimum wages even after selling lots of songs they give up due to streaming. That's true. And Lord Toth has been a member for 64 months. Now let me go check and make sure that I want to make sure that anyone who sent in a tip doesn't get forgotten. This is really annoying, everybody, and I am both embarrassed and horrified and angry that it didn't say anything. Like, why? And by the way, we were broadcasting for like a half an hour before this started to come in. Okay. Oh wait. This is interesting. So Stubble McShave talked last night about the Vasa race. I wonder who won. Stubble McShave says, I was invited by a friend who had a spare ticket to go see the Elvis in concert movie. I probably wouldn't have gone otherwise. I'm glad I went. I had the caricature of 70s Elvis in my mind. This was so much not that. It feels like you're in the room and can smell the sweat. That's both good and bad, I would imagine. That's what I've heard, that you really get a sense that Elvis is really humanized in this. I can't wait to see it. Stubble goes on to say, it's widely known that the original meaning of the word rock, as in music, was code for the word fuck. Some less relatable sources claim that roll was another word for pay. That means that rock and roll actually was another word for fucking pay. Aren't we still doing that? I like that. I didn't know that. 1001 Johnny says, real quick, I spent way too much money at the comic shop yesterday, Rob. X-Men 24 from September 1993 is what I'm most pleased with. Also, the McFarlane figure of Batman from the first 3 seasons of Batman the Animated Series. I'll show it off on the next MOC Squad member call. And we're caught up. All right, everybody, I'm going to go figure out my streaming problem. This ridiculous... Hey, I am not sponsored by Wirecast, but apparently I should be. So let me go figure this problem out, and we will be back in, let's call it 15 minutes, I hope. All right, Max?
All right. Thank you.
All right, so we will come back, kids, for a second bite at this apple. Now I need to I have to find how can I get off this apple? Where am I? That's another thing. I have all these windows open trying to solve this problem live, which was in addition to trying to talk on the screen. All right, so I'm going to cut this one off and bring it back. Okay, so